watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
And hello, welcome to the Scottish Football Zone. I don't know about you guys, right? I know I'm a bit old for going to a pantomime, right? But I've decided not to go to a pantomime this year because if I want to go to a pantomime, just go to a Celtic game, and you'll see it. So but before you say am I going to a pantomime? No, by the way, that was a joke because people believe everything that you're saying, stuff like that. But no, I'm not going to pantomime. But what a pantomime has been for Celtic in the past for maybe 15 days or so since the nonsense took over the Hearts game as well. Talking about a pantomime, I'm joined by my two ugly sisters. Sorry, I'm just getting into my kind of. Yeah. So the good end of the horse tonight. Robbie and Ethan, how are you guys?
Aye, doing well. Looking forward to taking back to league action. Well, for us anyway. I'm sure Ethan's probably slightly nervous ahead of Sunday's game. It's a absolutely massive Sunday for the whole season, Michael. There's no many game weeks that define a season, but it feels Rangers' trip to Tynecastle and Aberdeen's trip to Celtic Park is certainly up there with one of the biggest that we're going to get all season. So I'm looking forward to it.
Regan, sorry, Ethan.
Yeah, no, I was gonna. I just agree with what Robbie said. I think that the four teams playing on Sunday are, based on current form and maybe not current form for Celtic, but the current form for the other three. I would suggest are maybe the favourites for the top four places. I know Aberdeen started the season slowly, but they've built up steam. They're the most on-form team in the league at the minute, and I expect them to be competing with Hibs and Motherwell for that fourth place, and maybe even higher if Celtic keep dropping points, and maybe if they give Aberdeen a win at the weekend. But yeah, it'll be interesting regardless of the scorelines. And then obviously you've got a real, not a title decider, but a real early momentum decider, I'll call it, between Hearts and Rangers. I think the winner of that is probably becomes the outright favourite to win the league at the moment, and I think that's changed multiple times throughout the season, mostly between Hearts and Celtic. Obviously Celtic have went right off the boil, and Hearts are now the favourites at the minute, but if Rangers can win that game, then they can show that Danny Rose found a formula to win games in the Scottish Premiership. I think it's 11 unbeaten for them now, some of those under Russell Martin, but yeah, really interesting regardless. And then we've got the other four games on Saturday, which I'm sure will throw up some surprises and weird things as well, based on what's happened to the rest of Scottish football this season.
Yeah, and by the way, I was kicking on. I'm not really going to a pantomime this season, just in case. Anybody offers me tickets as well, but I was only kicking on because of the pantomime of Scottish football this season. Because I mean, the good half is Scotland qualifying for the World Cup, and then when you come back to domestic matters, it's like Rangers and Celtic and Hearts that are top of the Christmas spree. They'll be there since I think it's 1993 since that a team's been in pole position at Christmas. So there you go. It shows you how long Celtic and Rangers has been dominating Scottish football. Get your comments coming in, guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as ever, the Scottish Football Zone, and we're on TikTok and where else are we? Oh, Spotify. That's right. Spotify. We're all over the place. So there you go. A bit like me at my work, but we won't go there. So before we go on to talk about Ethan's laughing, he must have saw me at my work one day. Before we go on to talk about the Celtic Aberdeen game at Celtic Park, let's go on to talk about the game at 1:30 on Sunday, Robbie. Hearts against Rangers, and looking forward to this. It should be a very kind of entertaining game.
Aye, Michael, we speak about Christmas cheer this time of year. It was nice to see Danny Rowe handing out the chocolate Santas in his press conference earlier. Real try to lift the mood, and I think that's what you could say about Rangers. I think the mood since a few months back's really shifted, and Ibrox seems to be going in a real positive place. And I think Rangers fans are very wary that there's still a lot of work to do, and I think January is going to be a big window for incomings and outgoings at Ibrox. But Ethan was right with what he said earlier. Danny Rose found the formula to win, the formula that Russell Martin couldn't find. I'd even go back and say the formula that Michael Beale couldn't really find, to be honest with you, to build consistency at the club. Danny Rose found that, and I think that shows what a good coach he is. And, a lot of people doubted Danny when he got appointed. They didn't think he was experienced enough, but the guy's been coaching at some elite levels. So, I think it was always going to be a positive appointment. I think if the board back him and they can get the right signings made, I think Rangers have a real chance to push on and do well this season. And I think in a situation where Celtic are in a bit of turmoil right now and you don't really know where it's going to end, that's going to be big for Rangers to capitalise, and especially big players like James Tavernier. He's been through it all. He's got to be sitting there boys down before every game and going, look at what's going on across the road. No fully investing into that, because you don't want to start thinking about the other club. You want to focus on yourself, but just having a wee nod to the players going, look, if we can keep our form going, if we can get into January the 3rd when we go to Celtic and they're still in a bit of turmoil, go and take advantage of that. And if they can manage to go to Tynecastle on Sunday and beat Hearts, who you've got to say getting into the match are looking like favourites. I think Rangers is always a tough game, but Hearts are certainly doing really well. So I think if you're Rangers and you can go to Tynecastle and get a win this weekend, Michael, would just set such a high standard. And I think the Rangers fans are really starting to believe that a small title push could be on if they can get the result right on Sunday.
Yeah, I would completely agree with a lot of what Robbie said, and I think for a few, maybe months, maybe not a few months, few weeks now, maybe a few months, I've always said that it's so early in the season and Rangers were never out of the question, that I think people were writing off their chances at a title, mostly Rangers fans, but how inconsistent Hearts were through that little sticky patch they had, and how poor Celtic have performed throughout the season, and especially now, there was always going to be that chance that over a 38-game season Rangers could come back into it. And I think this is a real chance, because Danny Rowe, although he's got the results and he's done a lot better than Russell Martin has done, and you might say that's an easy thing to do, but it's difficult to come into a group of players that are dejected and don't really have much belief in themselves from what we've seen. And obviously it started with a really disappointing result in Norway against Brann when they were beaten 3-0, and he had to apologise to the Rangers supporters. Pretty much since then, certainly in league terms, it's been all positive. I know they had the one game they drew at Tannadice against Dundee United, and then obviously they lost to Celtic in the League Cup semi-final, and then in European football it's been pretty disappointing. One thing I will say with Danny Rowe is he needs a big result, I think, because it's okay getting the wins in the games in the Scottish Premiership, but he needs a win against Celtic, a win against Hearts, a win in Europe to really show the Rangers fans that he can do it on the biggest of stages. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to do that. Going to Tynecastle, obviously a very difficult game. I think the last time Hearts beat Rangers at Tynecastle was in 2020, which was the last time Hearts had beat Rangers 2 games on the bounce. I believe that's right. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that was the stats. And then, as we've been speaking about, the chance for Hearts to beat Celtic, not only Celtic home and away, but then Rangers home and away, would be such a massive statement that they can go and win this league and they can go and stay ahead of all the other teams, because they've been at the top pretty much from the start, and the other teams have tried to chase. Celtic have caught up to them and then allowed them to reopen the gap, especially with that win at Celtic Park and Celtic's recent fall off. Rangers have been closing the gap while Hearts had that sticky patch, but Hearts could really, I think, confirm themselves as favourites, and I think the percentage of believers in this country would be a lot more if Hearts were to turn Rangers over on Sunday, because although I think people understand, and I've said that the Hearts can win the league, whether you actually believe them to beat out Celtic and Rangers, as we know, the recent history of Scottish football doesn't happen. So for them to do it, I think Sunday, getting a win there for Derek McInnes and these players would be massive confidence to them, but everyone else in Scottish football, that they can really do it and they can go and win the Scottish Premiership title, which would be a great thing to see. And I'm not saying it'd be done by any means if they won on Sunday, but I'd certainly be a lot more confident in them, because how can you dispute a team that's beat the two biggest clubs in the country home and away, and are top of the league by a comfortable margin?
You know what, Ethan, I think you're spot on there. And look, I know obviously beating Rangers and Celtic would be a huge achievement for Hearts, but I actually look at the away fixtures to Falkirk and go, that is some win, keeping a clean sheet away from home in a game where you've just beaten Celtic. If you drop points away at Falkirk, you're suddenly hitting the reset button and going, right, you can't exactly, go and beat Celtic at Celtic Park and then drop points here and there. I think that was a big win overall for the confidence. That how many times have we seen it where teams might be in good positions, but they're dropping silly points here and there, and we've seen it in title races between Celtic and Rangers. Historically in the last few years, it's been Rangers that are dropping more silly points than Celtic at different places, and you're left wondering what's going on there. But Hearts picking up a win away at a ground like Falkirk is so massive for them, and getting into January, if they can get through Rangers and get themselves into January with the way they are looking now, and get some more backing and get some more players, there's no reason why a push can't be on the cards. It really could. And I think Tony Bloom and the recruitment team and the analytics and all that sort of stuff, if all it comes together and really clicks, and the strengthening areas where they're honest at the net of strength, Hearts, I think, will make a really good push at this.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And there's a few players in this game that maybe you would have expected to be there that won't be. I'm just double checking. I'm pretty sure Rangers Nasser Jiga's away to AFCON with Burkina Faso, so that'll be obviously one that he misses out on in a few games, obviously in the lead up to the end of the year. I think some Rangers fans were saying that he was sort of coming on to a game to a bit, but as we know, he's always got a mistake in him, so it'll be interesting to see how Danny Rowe sorts that one out. Pierre-Landry Cabore, also Burkina Faso for Hearts, he'll be away as well by the looks of it. So I know he's not been that integral for Hearts, but he's certainly contributed here and there, and there's a few injury issues. I don't think any fresh ones really I'm noticing.
Bojan, I did notice Danny Rowe saying earlier, Bojan Miovski and Lyle Cameron, I think, missing the game, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, I think I did hear about Bojan Miovski and Lyle Cameron. I think he's not really featured as much as I think probably everybody would like him to after the success he had at Dundee, and obviously as an up and coming Scottish midfielder. But yeah, it's going to be a massive game, and I think it's probably, I know it sounds cliche to say, but I think it'll be one in that midfield battle. And Alex has obviously been ranting and raving, as a lot of Rangers fans have been, about Conor Barron this season, who's probably been one of, if not Rangers' best player, overshadowing the Belgian international, which has played alongside him. But Cammy Devlin's been excellent this season, and maybe one of the players of the season so far for Hearts. So yeah, that'll be a big battle in midfield. I can't see any team winning by a comfortable margin. I might be wrong, but I think especially with Rangers, that under Danny Rowe, they've never really blown anybody away. I think they do what's necessary, and picking up the 3 points doesn't really matter. Obviously, if it comes down to goal difference at the end of the season, it'll matter, but it's a very unlikely scenario. That the most important thing is getting the 3 points, and that's what he's done so well since he's came to Rangers in the league, and he'll be looking to continue that at the weekend. But I don't think he's faced a tougher test yet, as before now, and I don't think he's faced a test even close to that in the league, certainly.
The Heart, Michael, I was just going to say quickly, the Hearts part, going to be loving the prospect of facing against Chamite, and I'm trying not to criticise the guy too much, because it's not his fault. He's getting flung into a situation where Rangers have paid big money for him. They're putting a lot of trust in him, but let's be realistic, he's not got the ability to play up front for Rangers. He just hasn't. And that Hearts defence have got to be thinking, right, if we can just take him out of the game and win the midfield battle, and I think that's where Ethan's right, Cammy Devlin is so important for this game. If Hearts can win the two key areas and keep Rangers quiet in the attacking third, they're going to get good success. And you've just got to wonder what Danny Rowe and the rest of the team are seeing out of Danilo, that he can't get into this team, because for what I'm hearing for Chamite and for what I'm watching, he's no great and his form's no deserving to start. So you just wonder how big a miss Bojan Miovski actually is. And I'm not saying that Bojan, has been a world beater at Rangers. He's really struggled to find form since he joined, but you've just got to imagine if Rangers get into a one-on-one situation or a big chance comes up, and as Ethan said, they're not outscoring opponents. If one big chance comes up in the game, who would you rather, Bojan or Oscar Chimete? I think most Rangers fans would pick Bojan.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, Michael, I was just going to say, and especially when you look on the other side, who Hearts have got Lawrence Shankland alongside Kasridis and Braga, probably two of the signings of the summer. So, yeah, I think Hearts are definitely stronger in the going forward than Rangers as we've seen this season. But in one-off games, you never know. It'll feel like a real cup final atmosphere. Tynecastle will be filled to the rafters, as the saying goes, and they'll be behind their players as they want to extend their lead at the top, which come Sunday evening could be as much as 9 points ahead of Celtic. Celtic would still have a game in hand. That's 9 points if they were to lose again to Aberdeen, and they could go what would that be? 12 points ahead of Rangers. Rangers would have a game in hand, but on the other side, Rangers win the match, they go 6 points behind Hearts by a game in hand, and they also could go level with Celtic with the same games played. Again, if Celtic lose to Aberdeen, which I'm sure we'll get on to, and I'm sure that's a very realistic possibility at the minute. Interesting, I was just looking at the league table, all three teams have conceded 13 goals between Hearts, Celtic and Rangers. Hearts have scored 34, Celtic 26, Rangers 23. So, yeah.
No, I was just to say that early on you were saying about when was the last game Hearts beat Rangers, and the last game Rangers beat the Hearts beat Rangers on the 18th attempt. 18th attempt. They beat Rangers 1-0 in the Scottish Cup at home in February 2020. So there you go. But I think, Robbie, if Hearts wants to put their record right, if they want to win leagues and all that, it's all right beating Celtic away from home, and they beat Celtic at home early on in the season, but they've got to back up now with another big win against Rangers, and then in a few weeks' time they've got a small matter of the Edinburgh Derby.
Aye, well, Edinburgh Derby next week, Michael. The big games keep coming, and look, we spoke before the Celtic game. Hearts didn't have a particularly good record at Celtic Park either. I think they've won one in 2023, and then I don't know how far back you're going after that. But against Rangers, you're right, the record's not great. But let's be honest, Michael, it's a season where Hearts have already beaten Ibrox. Hearts have wiped away Rangers. They kept a clean sheet at Ibrox 2-0. So, they've already shown they can beat this Rangers team, and understand it's under new management and their potential looking a bit better. But, if your Hearts, they just have to fancy a game like us. And let's be honest, as much as Rangers have built a bit of momentum and they're finding ways to win, they're no world beaters. They're no impossible to beat. They're still dropped a few points. They've got a few draws in there. So, that it's not a Rangers team that are high flying. But you just fancy, I think the first goal in this game is majorly important for the result. Whoever gets the first goal, whoever starts the best, I think will go on and win the game. And I think Hearts, Michael, just need to fancy this.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you, Robbie. And you look at who Danny Rowe's beaten, and I'm not taking anything away from him because I think he's done a really good job of turning the club in a positive manner after Russell Martin. But they've beat, since he's come in, they've beat Hibs twice, Kilmarnock twice, Dundee once, Livingston once, and that's it. So there's no teams there that Hearts are looking at and going, oh, well, they beat them. And if you look at it, the form Celtic were in, and the feel-good factor around Wilfred Nancy coming in, obviously not a feel-good factor anymore, as we'll get on to. But his debut at Celtic Park, I think you can maybe make the case that was going into that was a more difficult game than this one, because they know what they're going to... They've seen a lot of Danny Rowe with Rangers. They know what they're going to get. They know what they're up against. And I think if Hearts turn up and play at their best capabilities, then they can certainly beat this Rangers team, as I would expect them to beat anyone in the league. That's why they're top. And I think the important thing is that after the win at Celtic Park, I challenged Hearts to go and win the game against Falkirk and not let it just be a one-off thing, and really say that we're not going to go away here. We're going to be here to fight for this title until the end, and we're in a position and we deserve to be in the position at the top of the table. And I think we've seen it a few seasons ago with Rangers against Celtic. the Rangers got the better of Celtic in most of the battles, but it was the silly drop points elsewhere. Obviously, you want to beat your title rivals. That's brilliant. It gives the players and fans a lot of confidence, but it's important to grind out the results. I think you made that point, Robbie, with the win over Falkirk, and that's it. Regardless of the result of the weekend, Hearts and Rangers will both need to keep picking up points in the sort of what you could call the sort of smaller, easier games.
Derek McInnes was speaking to the media ahead of the game. He says, well, of course, it would mean a lot to us to win it, but it's going to be a tough game. I think for us, we've got off to a strong start. We probably we probably stumbled in the last couple of weeks, but from the start of the season, our support and players has been accepted very good, and we're hoping to have the backing of the fans on Sunday. He says, he then goes on to say, we went on a little sticky spell a couple of weeks ago, but all we want to do is try and get back to an unbeaten run and win and run, and if you can get a number of them throughout the season and make them make people sit up and notice. And I suppose that begins on Sunday, Robbie.
It does, and look, Hearts kind of get too carried away with themselves. And look, I think it's a slightly different situation to Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen last season, you look at Celtic and Rangers back then, I don't think Celtic or Rangers have the capabilities of blowing Hearts aside 6-0 like Celtic done in that cup game. I don't think either team are good enough to do that right now. So it feels slightly different in the sense that Hearts need to keep this low and keep themselves composed, because it can be so easy if they beat Rangers at the weekend and then beat Hibs next week to get away with yourself and get carried away and, start going, oh, we're in with a real chance here. But I don't think McInnes will let that happen, and I think that's one of the perks of having such a good manager, McInnes, because he will not let that happen. He'll keep them grounded, he'll keep them working hard, keep them going into the sort of January period. And I just think, Michael, this is just get something different about it to any other season where we've seen this type of run. It's a different type to Aberdeen. It's and Aberdeen's really the only one in my memory that I can remember a recent where a team's been on tap and looked a bit confident, but this Hearts team just don't look like they're going to get shot down. And I struggle to see where a killer blow could really hurt them, because they did just go 4 games without a win. Obviously, they lost their first game of the season against Aberdeen at Pittodrie, and they bounced back for that relatively comfortably. So, that to me shows a sign of a team that can go all the way and can actually do it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next few games go.
Yeah, that's the difference between Aberdeen. We're obviously, I think, a few games more on in the season, but Hearts have suffered that. What a lot of people, including myself, seen as a knockout blow when they went on that struggle, and the Hearts bubbles burst and whatever else. But they've stood up and went, no, we're not going away here. We are going to fight for this title, and we deserve to be in the top of the league. And they've proven that over the last 2 games, going to Celtic Park, the champions, and winning there, and then obviously going and winning at Falkirk, not an easy place to go either. So. And so I think Hearts are here to stay, and I hope they are. We're 2 games away from the halfway point of the 38-game season. So, and as Michael, I think, started the show with, it's been a long time since a team was outside of Celtic and Rangers was top of the league come Christmas. So that's something in itself, and Hearts need to take confidence from all these accolades. But I think Derek McInnes will be, and I think he said it, that he would, when they've played everybody twice, which will be coming up soon, he'll have another look at maybe talking about title aspirations in the dressing room. But I think for him and his players, they need to take it 1 game at a time, and I'm sure that's what they're doing. Another interesting thing that I stumbled across is the only team not to lose at home this season is Hearts. The only team not to lose away this season is Rangers. So set up for a draw now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something's got to go
on that fence. I better get on that fence now, Ethan. Danny Rowe says it will be a tough game. It's a challenge, but we're looking forward to it. Going to Tynecastle as well. So that's 1:30 on Sunday kickoff. talking about that, fans, we need to predict the score, guys, on Sunday and get it completely wrong, as always. Robbie?
I'm so torn, Michael. Earlier in the week, I was sort of saying to myself, I think I had a sneaky feeling that it was going to be Rangers' time to go away to Tynecastle and beat them, but the later the weeks went on, I'm starting to flip my mind, and I think I'm going to go with my flip. I'm going to go Hearts to win it 2-1. Earlier in the week, I would have told you 2-1 Rangers, but I'm going opposite. I'm going to go Hearts to win, and I think they'll really build momentum down to the Edinburgh Derby next week.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really eye-catching game that if you get the opportunity to watch, I think you should. And I think Danny Rowe's done a good job, as I said, since coming into Rangers. He's reinstalled a winning mentality for the most part. I know they've dropped a few games, the Dundee United one and Falkirk one, drawn, and then obviously the European and the Celtic League Cup game aren't great. I said he needs a big win, and I think he might be able to get it, but I'm still I'm going with Hearts to win the game, and I'll go with the same score prediction as Robbie. I think Hearts are the best team in the country at the minute. They have the best mentality, they have the best manager you could make a case for at this moment, and they possibly have the best players as well. So yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 to Hearts, and I think Hearts will really fill not just themselves but everyone else with the confidence that they can go all the way this season. Although I'm not saying that the league will be done regardless of the result of the weekend. I still think there's a long way to go, but it would certainly improve my confidence on Hearts, and but I'm confident they can beat Rangers. I think it'll be a close game. It could go either way, but I've had to come off the fence. As Michael says, I'll tip Hearts for the narrow victory.
Okay, so I will go back on the fence. That I don't know. I feel as though Rangers aren't playing well. They're still grinding out results and as well. And by all accounts, I never saw the game on Monday, but Hibs were the better team in the game. Rangers aren't playing brilliant football. They're still getting the job done. Hearts are on form at the moment at home. I don't know. 2 each, guys, in this one. I don't know.
Sitting on the fence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If that's what you think, Michael, you should go for it. I was going to go a draw, but I just felt it was the Jambos at the last minute.
So that's the game at 1:30 on Sunday at Tynecastle, Hearts against Rangers. As I said, if you were watching at the beginning of the programme, no, I'm not going to a pantomime on Sunday. I'm going to the Celtic Aberdeen game. You could basically say it's similar to a pantomime. What's the difference and all that? Celtic against Aberdeen, 3 o'clock. We'll talk about Aberdeen in a minute, Robbie, because they were playing last night in the Conference League. The game, it meant nothing, but it was all about fitness levels for Aberdeen and Jimmy Tallinn and another game under the belt. Let's start off with Celtic then. I know that you might be on. I know that people says you get crowd number 9. I think Robbie's on crowd number 15 after last Sunday. Look, he's still smiling. I don't know why you're smiling for. A very serious show, Robbie. Take it serious. Don't worry, I don't. So Celtic, Robbie. I mean, Nancy came in. Wilfred Nancy came in to the Hearts game. It was going okay for 20 minutes. Hearts scored, and then the backside came off. You would say the same as the St Mirren game. Roma. To be honest with you, if Martin O'Neill or Neil Lennon or somebody else was in there, that could get happened to Celtic. Roma's a brilliant team. And then last Sunday at Hampden, you got your moment, maybe not in the sun, but in the dark at Hampden Park. And it continued on Wednesday night because we'd done the show on, Wednesday afternoon. Peter Orwell left. It's standing down from Celtic. Celtic never held a press conference today. What's going on?
I don't imagine Wilfred Nancy's going to be holding out chocolate Santas anytime soon, to be honest with you. I didn't expect a press conference, but Michael, you've pretty much summed up the last sort of, how long's it been in? 13 days, 11 days, whatever it is. And Nancy's tenure has been in turmoil since he joined, and like one part of the heart feels really, really bad for the guy, because he's in a situation, respectfully to him and respectfully to all the achievements he's had in the MLS. He should never be in this position. Celtic should never be in a position where they had to hire Martin O'Neill into the dugout, first of all. I mean, that's just something that you think at this point shouldn't have been happening. But, you know, he is in here and he is getting rightly criticised. I did watch the game against Dundee United, and look, in another day, Celtic win that 5-0 at half time, and, you know, Nancy's got his first win under the belt and he's not under so much pressure. And look, there's only so much you can blame this guy for, and I get it, he's not doing well, and I think anybody wanting him sacked at this point, you know what, fair enough, you've got your opinion and I respect that, but what I would say is there's only so much he can do. You know, that first 45 minutes of football, even I don't know what you made it, but, and then, you know, Nancy set the team up, they've went out, they've done really, really well, they've just no scored, so, well, no scored more than one, sorry, so, you know, there's, you know, you can blame Nancy for the way things have gone in the last 11 days, but to me, you know, they players have got to start taking their chances.
Yeah, exactly that, and it could have been a different story on numerous occasions. As I've said, I think Celtic have played good football, but for 2 short periods of matches, you can't play for 45 minutes at Tannadice in that first half and only take one of your chances and then invite Dundee United onto you. And the second, credit to Jim Goodwin, he was obviously more aggressive with his players. They went man for man a lot of the second half, and they got their rewards with the 2 goals off the corners they created. But yeah, I think Wilfred, that is a strange situation, but I think Wilfred Nancy, I think he's going to get the backing of the Celtic board. I think they've said as much, and I think could he lose his job if Celtic lose on Sunday? I think possibly, but I don't think Celtic will lose again. I don't know why. I think that there's going to be an improvement, whether that's a draw or a win. I'm yet to see, but yeah, I think the no press conference is possibly interesting and maybe raises a few eyebrows. I think it is something that maybe happens around this period with so many games, but obviously it's going to raise eyebrows with how it's been at Celtic recently. You know, obviously Wilfred Nancy made the comments the other day about nearly signing for Carlisle and whatever else, which didn't make anybody more confident in him, I don't think. But yeah, I think Celtic are well capable of going out and beating Aberdeen, but also Aberdeen are on a great run. I think I said it, the most on-form team in the league at the minute, just ahead of Rangers, although Aberdeen's record against Celtic is absolutely terrible recently, apart from obviously maybe the biggest game of all, the Scottish Cup final, where they came out on top in penalties. I think it was something like the last 30 plus meetings in the Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen haven't won any of those games, which is a terrible record. I think if you want to go back to the last time Aberdeen won before the Scottish Cup final, would be going in between where they won 4 games in a 2-year spell in between 2014 and 2016. And since 2010, they 5 wins are their only results. I think it's, what would that be, 66 matchups they've had since the end of 2010, when Celtic, of course, in that famous 9-0 win, Aberdeen have only won 5 of those matches. So their record against Celtic is really poor, and Jimmy Tilley will be looking to change that. Obviously, Aberdeen beat Celtic the second last time they played. Celtic won the game earlier in the season at Pittodrie, but I think Aberdeen will go into the match with confidence, and as a really another big hitter matchup. It's a great day of football on Sunday, and like I said, for the Hearts Rangers game, I think if you have the chance, then you should watch this, because it could go one of many ways. I think I could see Celtic winning comfortably. I could see Aberdeen winning comfortably. I could see a draw. I could see a narrow win either way. It's a difficult one to predict, but I think Celtic have got to get a result for their manager's sake, and I think the players have got to take some responsibility, and I think they have done. Paulo Bernardo came out and said as much the other day, but yeah, I think it's one that I'm certainly looking forward to watching.
I think as well, Robbie, like you were saying there about it's not Nancy's fault, and before people comment and you know, it is Nancy's fault, but wait a minute, the board gave him the job, and he came into a kind of fire, basically, as well. I think we did see it after Wednesday night's game against Dundee United that how can you go from a brilliant first half to that in the second half? Surely, like, the players must have like a share of the blame from here. But where does Celtic go as a club, Robbie? I know that's a massive question to answer, and we might be here until Monday after the game. But I mean, there's a disconnect now between the board and the fans, and the fans and the board. And I'm hearing today that Stevie Woods might be leaving the backroom team at Celtic and all the rest of it. It's just got a complete... That's why I say at the beginning of the show, who makes a pantomime when you've got Scottish football?
Look, I think Nancy does need to take some blame, Michael. You know, I don't entirely think he's a wrong, but I definitely don't think he should take all the blame. And look, the fire started well before Nancy came in. That AGM meeting where Celtic had to cancel it after about half an hour because they just simply couldn't do it in that meeting, and they weren't taking any questions. That's when the fire really hit home, I think, for most Celtic fans. That's when I sort of looked at Celtic and went, right, there's a real disconnect here between the board and the fans and just everybody connected with Celtic. You know, I don't know if there's going to be another AGM meeting. I'm not sure how they're going to transpire that or how that's going to happen. But I think Sunday is so important that it clicks for Celtic, and I think Nancy's too prideful to change. He's not going to change now for the three at the back. He would have done it, I think, at Tannadice or at Hampden if he was going to switch. So, look, you're going to need to hope that for, you know, Ethan and every other Celtic fan's sake, that this system clicks at the weekend, because Aberdeen are not great. They're no, you know, they've picked up a wee bit of form. I get that. They were on a decent unbeaten run. Obviously, it was a pretty bad loss for what I heard last night. Obviously away 3-0. But, you know, this is a Celtic game where any other time of the season where Aberdeen lose 3-0 when things aren't as bad as it is at Celtic, you'd be right in Celtic going to win comfortably in this game. But I just don't see it going that way unless it clicks. You know, if Celtic come out and put in that same 45 and start taking their chances, then there's every way Celtic could walk about with a 3-4-0 lead at some point in the game, because, you know, as much as it's such a weird situation, because as much as people criticise Nancy's tactics, Celtic just played one hell of a 45 minutes. They got unfortunate that players like Johnny Kenny never took many of their chances, because, you know, if Celtic win that 3-4-0, nobody's blaming Nancy's tactic at that point. You know, you're looking at the first 45 and going, he's played an absolute blinder here, fair play to him. But unfortunately, the way the cookie crumbles, Michael, that never happened, and it was such a blow for Celtic when that second goal went in. It took a lot out of the players, and it's going to take a lot of mentality for them to bounce back. And like, you can say whatever you want about you know, these players and the experiences they've had, like Callum McGregor and Kasper Schmeichel, but it takes a lot to bounce back for so many defeats, and you've got to question, do the players have that mentality now to bounce back? Because let's be honest, some of these Celtic players have never went through a time like this in their career, really. You know, this is their first time really going through a spell where, I mean, you know, you look at a guy like Callum McGregor, how many years at Callum McGregor's tenure at Celtic has he went through this type of run? There's no many. So, you know, you've got to question, has he got the mentality? Has he got the captain capabilities to take this team forward and try and get the win? It's going to be such an interesting game.
Yeah.
So, no, I was just going to say, Ethan, quickly before you answer that one, just because Robbie mentioned Callum McGregor, I don't know if you saw that interest today that Brendan Rodgers is back in football. He's down to Saudi, wherever Biggie goes nowadays, and apparently he's interested in Callum McGregor.
Yeah, I will not take too much. Obviously, you take these things with a pinch of salt, but it would be really interesting. It would be a big move for Callum McGregor financially, of course, at the stage of his career. How much would they be willing to offer Celtic's another question. So, yeah, I think that would be an interesting one, but I think it's far from where Celtic should be laying their focus at the minute. They need to go out and win the game on Sunday and right the wrongs of the last week. I think it'll be a really interesting atmosphere, because you've seen towards the end on Wednesday night that some of the Celtic fans were telling Wilfred Nancy to get to wherever. And I think Robbie spoke about some of the players not really experiencing stuff like this. I think most of the fans probably haven't experienced anything like this in recent times, and that's why I think some people label entitled for their ambitions and giving their board a hard time. And I think you're completely right about the AGM. I think that only turned up the heat on the Celtic board, and it's grown ever not ever slightly, pretty aggressive trajectory from disappointment in the Celtic board to anger towards the Celtic board. And I think you could certainly call the group of Celtic fans that were singing that I would call them entitled. I don't think I don't really, as a football fan, I've never really understood booing or sort of giving your own players or managers that kind of treatment, especially after 4 games, especially that performance. I think obviously he takes responsibility. He's the manager. It's his job to set the players up to go and win games. But if that was one of the best halves of football I think Celtic have put in all season. I know the bar isn't very high, but the chances they created, they could have been out of sight. Ultimately, they weren't. They didn't have the quality players on the pitch to do so. And they gave Dundee United the chance to come in back at the game. Dundee United were excellent for the opening stages of the second half. They did take their chances, and then they get the win. But that's what I said. I think you could see Celtic doing the same in the first half. Maybe they take the chances this time, but you could also see Celtic being really negative and slow from the start. And I think you'll really learn how much the players want to fight for the manager and how much they believe in what he's trying to do based on this game. Because I think you've maybe seen signs that they're trying to do what he's telling them to do in all the games so far. But I think you could really see a disconnect from the players, and maybe you'll learn that he has lost the dressing room. And I think when that happens, I think you do need to be removed from your job, possibly. I don't think he'll be removed regardless of the result on Sunday. Maybe he will be. I don't know. But as we said, Scottish football has been an extra funny old game this season with the pantomime of stuff that's happened. But I think it can only go up from Celtic. I can't see them losing again. I think they'll get at the very least a draw. But if I had to give away my prediction, I would go with a win for Celtic. I think something's got to give, and I think they'll have enough. They'll maybe take the chances this time. I think Wilfred Nancy will make a few changes to the starting 11, although I think most of the players, certainly in the first half, but it's so difficult when you have to weigh up the second half performance with that first half one. And as I said at the start, Aberdeen's record against Celtic is just horrific viewing for Aberdeen fans, and I fear that they might suffer another defeat. But then again, could go either way, and that's the beauty of these games, because usually going into these two type of games on a Sunday, you'd have Celtic as big favourites to beat Aberdeen at home. You'd have Rangers as favourites to go to Tynecastle, not big favourites, obviously. Tynecastle's always a difficult place to go, but favourites to go to Tynecastle and win. But I think you could very easily make the point that Aberdeen and Hearts are the favourites going into these games, which shows that although I think this is some of the worst Celtic and Rangers sides we've seen in recent history, makes for a much better viewing for Scottish football across the board.
Good to say that. Birmingham City and Norwich City are keen to sign young, and also Preston North End as well, according to Sky Sports as well. Robbie, I know that Ethan was saying about Wilfred Nancy, the fans are chanting his name to get to, I think it was France, they were saying, or Spain, I can't remember.
Probably France, that's where he's from, obviously.
Well, yeah, go back home. But no, we've got to mention about Peter Orwell as well, because not nice that the fans are kind of like giving abuse to his family as well this week as well. But I mean, the point is this, Robbie, I've been thinking about this since Wednesday, right? You can actually go to the game, right, to St Mirren, right, and you can protest about your team, about Stephen Robertson, about whoever, but as soon as you cross that white line, or that fine line, it's a different story. If they start to involve your family, it's a different ballgame. It's a bit like me coming into somebody's work and, like you'll never do that. So I didn't like to see that,
Never likes to see that, Michael, and I have seen it at St Mirren before, and it's no nice. And obviously, with the most recent one, I can fully remember is Kettlewell at Motherwell, and the abuse some of his family got, and you just never want to see it. Ethan, can I just ask, but are you going to the game on Sunday?
No, unfortunately, I'm not. I'm working, so I'll be able to watch the game before I go to work, but I'll not be there. But I'm guessing you're going to ask about the atmosphere, because I think it will be very interesting. Just to touch on the Orwell point quickly. I think that's something you never like to see, and I think you should judge the board and protest against the board. Completely fair to do so, but you judge them on their ability to run the football club, nothing else. Same as when it comes to manager, and same when it comes to player. I'm not saying that you're not got the right to boo players or chant about managers if they're doing poorly, but I just think it was too early to sort of throw Wilfred Nancy under the bus and give him a really tough atmosphere when he's came into a real difficult job. I know Martin O'Neill obviously made it look pretty easy, but I think that sort of reiterates how good a manager Martin O'Neill still probably is, how good of a sort of motivator he is, regardless of maybe him not being up to the tactical modern day football evolution. He still has that character to drive the players and get them results. But what were you going to say, sorry, Robbie, before I cut you off?
No, I was just going to ask you, in terms of the atmosphere, then, you'll know better than anybody. You go to the Celtic games. If Celtic go 1-0 down inside 10 minutes, what's the atmosphere going to be like in Celtic Park?
I think the atmosphere will be really toxic. I think it'll be really discouraging for the players, and that's something that going to the games that I always don't like. Even when it's nothing each and players are trying to play the manager's style and learn. Against Hearts, there was groans and stuff like that, even when Celtic were playing well, I thought, in the first half. So some people will always be like that, regardless of the situation. The people always have something to complain about, regardless of when it comes to everything in life, and especially football. I'm sure you guys remember, I think it was the start of last season. I think I made this point the other night about the Celtic season ticket holder that phoned into Super Scoreboard and said he left the game early at half time because Celtic were winning the matches too easily. And that's why you should never take these things for granted, because look where we are now. So I'm sure he would have wanted to go back and watch the second half of those matches so he could enjoy them while he could, especially when it comes to this now, because you think that Celtic's success is going to last forever. And I'm not saying that they can still obviously go on and win the league, but things always change in football, and nothing's ever constant. There's always new stories and new storylines cropping up, and I think the Celtic fans are certainly the ones of the younger generation, including myself, are having to go through a period that they've not really went through before. But it's all part of sports. Sports isn't. If you can't sort of take the losses, then there's no point celebrating the successes.
Aye, and Michael, just interestingly on that point, right? And there's been a lot of words getting flung about to Celtic fans, entitled is the main one that I'm seeing flung about, but it's no entitlement, and I'll happily defend that. You want to see your club do well. Can you imagine that, Man City fans being happy Pep went on like a 5-game losing streak because, they win a trophy every other season? It doesn't happen in any other sport. Celtic fans have, in my opinion, every right to be angry. And, it's more than just the results on the pitch. Everything that's going on at Celtic Park right now, the board problems that they've got, everything combined into one. I think Celtic fans have every right to be angry about the way the club's gone right now. And, it would be the same way any other club. Rangers have been angry for years because the way the club's been run and the way things have happened. They're starting to go up into a more positive note, but we all just want to see our clubs do well. There's no entitlement wanting to see your club win trophies, and because Celtic have won X amount in the last 10 years means they shouldn't care now. I mean, I don't get that argument. It's baffling to me that that's the way some fans see it, and Celtic fans will be hoping they get a win on Sunday because I think they desperately need it.
Yeah, I think I said it the other night. I know Celtic have lost 4 games in a row, and it's an unprecedented time for the football club. But I don't think they're that far away. Not from being a great team by any means, but from being a team that can compete with Hearts and Rangers for the league title. I think obviously they're still in competition. They're second place at the minute, but if you were looking at the form and whatever, you would expect Celtic to drop off. But I think all it takes is one convincing win. I thought that was going to be the other night, and then the players get confident in what they're doing. They buy into what the manager's telling them to do, and I think that's all it'll take. And it could be on Sunday. If it's not, then I think the players grow greater doubt. It's an even bigger road back for Wilfred Nancy. But no, I would agree with you. I think every fan of every sport should want the best for the football team, regardless if they maybe get boring or bored of winning or want greater competition. I think I excited about the prospect of there being greater competition from teams outside Rangers as well. I think it makes for an excellent product for our football league, and hopefully it continues. But I was going to make a point, but I can't remember what it was now. Oh yeah, I think it says it all when Celtic's best striker is Kelechi Iheanacho, who was brought in as a free agent outside of the transfer window, and if it wasn't for Brendan Rodgers' contact book, Celtic wouldn't have him in the door. I know he's been injured, but he's I can't really make a case for anyone else to be the best striker at the club. You could say Daizen Maida's played there, but I think he's better off the left. So yeah, I think that says everything, that Celtic were willing to go into a season with Johnny Kenny and Shin Yamada as their striking options. I just think that's so wide of the mark and so maybe disrespectful to the rest of the league that the Celtic board actually thought that was going to be enough to win a league title. But yeah.
For Aberdeen, Robbie, the game last night didn't really mean nothing. It was only meant to be played for Aberdeen, and I suppose an extra game under the belt. But apart from the European exit this season, they've been in decent form in a couple of weeks, and they'll be fancying their chances coming to Celtic Park. By the way, Ethan, I don't want to upset you and the Celtic fans, but the last time Celtic lost 5 games was in the 40s. So there you go. I wasn't about then, by the way, just in case.
Are you not, Michael? I think you were.
No, they didn't have a football zone back then. They just had a zone, and I zoned out at that time. Robbie, so Aberdeen would fancy their chances on Sunday?
Aye, I think they will. I don't think the extra European game would have helped because they have less time to prepare for this game. But I think Tulane and that group of players should go with confidence, and why not? You know, they should look to go and cause another upset and make it 5 losses for Celtic since, as you said, the 40s, and that's just an absolutely unbelievable start. And if that does happen, and look, depending on the circumstances, you could genuinely see Nancy getting sacked by Sunday night. If it was that bad, you know, depending on what the result is, and I don't think the result will be that bad. I can't see Celtic, you know, losing 2 or 3-0. It's just with the realms of possibility at home, in my opinion. So I think if Aberdeen were to go there and nick a result, and I think a point would actually be pretty good for Aberdeen. Whether they see it that way, you know, is a different story, because they might look at 2 points dropped with the way Celtic are playing right now. But you know, you've got to factor in so much when you're playing Celtic. So I think they'll be looking to go and get a point, and I think that's a real possibility, Michael. And you're right, Aberdeen have been on a good run of form bar last night. It was a sale one to take, but it didn't really matter in the other things. At least, guys, we had a team that didn't finish bottom of the European competition list. You know, they finished second bottom, so I don't know Aberdeen with that. But no, you're right. They have been on a good run of form, and I'm sure the Aberdeen fans are fully behind Jimmy Tulane, no matter the result on Sunday.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think Aberdeen are in a good run at the minute. They've not lost a domestic game since the end of October, so went through the whole month of November, and now we're certainly well into the second half of December and still no defeats domestically. They've been in a good run, a better run than anyone else in the league, I think, as I said before. So they'll be going with confidence. They play the same style as well, for the same formation anyway as Wilfred Nancy, not the same style, I don't think, but they are. That's obviously the change that Jimmy Tulane made for the final. He was a 4 mostly the last season, and they were so poor come the end of the last season, Aberdeen, but obviously changed it to the 3/5 for the cup final, and it worked so well, and they'll be hoping for the same result on Sunday. But as you said, I think Aberdeen would be happy coming away from Celtic Park with a point. I think they'll go there obviously to win. They'll smell the blood that everyone else in Scottish football is probably smelling, even who's the furthest team away at the minute in the Scottish Premiership? Who's the furthest team away from Celtic Park in the Scottish Premiership at the minute? Is it Dundee or Dundee United or Aberdeen?
Aberdeen.
Yeah. My point was going to be even the furthest team away from Celtic Park can smell the blood, but it doesn't work because they're playing Aberdeen. But you got what I was trying to say. Anyway, I think Aberdeen will definitely look for a result. I think, Robbie, you were maybe going to make a point about the Kilmarnock job and who's in the running, but I've just seen, don't know if you've seen this, Ella, and how reliable it is. It's from the Indie Kayla News, which is, I believe, a group of reputable journalists. They said that Celtic have approached Ange Postecoglou to see if he was willing to return and manage the club again, but they also reported that Wilfred Nancy was going to be sacked yesterday, so take these things with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, obviously with a pinch of salt, Michael, sorry. I just want to talk about the Kelly Joe one. We'll get into talking about Kilmarnock later, but it feels a bit too important to miss it. There's a few news sources now reporting that Russell Martin's front runner for the Kilmarnock job at 14-1 to take over at Kilmarnock, which, of course, take this with a pinch of salt, and the likelihood of that happening. The likelihood that this is probably still quite low, but the fact that so many articles and so many websites are now got him down at the front runner and the favourite for the job tells you that there might be something in this.
I wasn't kicking on about the fact I think he's obviously in the running. I don't think he'll be the manager. It's very interesting if he was. That would have been Premier League manager to a Scottish Premiership manager in just over a season, or maybe less than that. No, just over a season. I think he was sacked from Southampton. So yeah, obviously he's had a terrible track record of jobs. Recently sacked from Southampton, sacked from Rangers. So you can understand that he's maybe trying to work his reputation back up, and maybe Kilmarnock's the perfect candidate. I don't know if the Kilmarnock fans will be too happy about that, but I don't think Kilmarnock really have the players to play the whatever style of football he was trying to play anyway.
I was going to ask what style of football.
yeah. And obviously, Wilfred Nancy's been labelled the not the reincarnation, but the sort of second coming of Russell Martin in the space of a season. So, yeah.
So there you go. Score predictions in this one, guys. Celtic, Aberdeen, Ethan.
I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Celtic. I wouldn't be surprised if Aberdeen win or there's a draw, but I think I can't see Celtic losing 5 games in the bounce. I think something needs to give, and I think it's going to be Aberdeen's unbeaten run in the Scottish Premiership. I think it'll be a lot more convincing from Celtic and maybe get the players on side, or it'll go the other way. Celtic will be terrible the whole 90 minutes, but I don't think you can keep putting in performances that are, well, I wouldn't say decent. I'd say decent in periods, but I think you can't put a performance for a first 45 like they did in Tannadice again and not win the match. I think that was very unfortunate and things didn't fall for Wilfred Nancy, but I think they will this time, and I think Celtic will get a win. Although, as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it went any other way.
Robbie?
Michael, I think you're going to extend that fence. I'm going to go one each in this game. I can't, losing and dropping points can become such a mentality issue, and I just don't know right now if the Celtic players have got the mentality to bounce back and try and get 3 points on the board yet. So I'm going to go one each.
There you go. And I will go. I will come off the fence now because Robbie's on it. Because I've put on a bit of weight and and stuff. No, I think it will be a tight game. I think Celtic will get a win, and Nancy will be the manager of the month for December. I will go for another 2-1 win for Celtic.
You're far too optimistic to the Celtic fans. I'm kidding.
But there you go. Reagan, you've just joined us at the right time. Your prediction of the score on Sunday, Celtic and
I done
Aberdeen.
a prediction last night, Michael, with a friend of mine, and my prediction, I'm going to stick by it, is Celtic 0, Aberdeen 2.
Oh, wow. Yeah. God, yeah, there you go.
It could be. Robbie, Robbie
That's
was it 3-0 you predicted Dundee United, or 3-1 you predicted Dundee United the other night?
Remember, I predicted 2-1.
I said 3-0 Dundee United.
Actually,
But
guys, I'll also say that I helped my brother get a little bit of money on Wednesday night because I told him to bet the Dundee United. So,
I
was looking for the win-win scenario, Reagan.
I win.
I was actually getting worried, Reagan, how you said you helped your brother got money, and I was worried just in case you never got you weren't going to finish that sentence there and stuff like that. Remember, we're live, but yeah, I helped my nuts go never to get money for the bus. So let's move on now to Robbie. Robbie's still smiling, and Robbie, I don't know if this is a bit unfair for the Livingston fans, right? But of all the games that you won the League Cup, and the first game back after the League Cup is Livingston, surely that's going to be a bit of an easy kind of 3 points.
Well, Michael, you're thinking, not to spoil my prediction, but I think it will be. But like in 2013, when we won the League Cup, we only won one game between winning it and the end of the season. So, I'm not gonna get too ahead of myself. I'm smiling a lot. I got a wee early Christmas present. I don't think you can see it behind me, but I did get a poster made of the team lifting the cup. So that was kind of cool to get early. But I'm conscious that as bad as Livingston are right now.
Robbie, who's the poster from to get a wee plug? Is it?
I don't know. It was a shop in the town when I went out of the town. I went in there to get it, but I'm cautious that for all that Livingston are bad and they're barely scraping by right now. I think it was an impressive comeback against Dundee, right enough to get a point out of that. But I'm already that we tend to struggle against these type of teams. We don't like this type of fixture. Historically, we'd never do well against the bottom six, and that's been in previous seasons. But my God, my confidence is absolutely through the roof. I cannot see a world in which we lose this game. And look, I will be on the show. See, after I make this prediction, and you all laugh at me, I will be on this show eating humble pie if we drop any points to Livingston tomorrow, because I just cannot see it happening whatsoever. But I mean, look, we did get a bit of bad news. We get a bit of a Debbie Downer, if you will, today. Keanu Bacchus will be out for 3 months, where I think it's a torn hamstring he's picked up this week, which no great, because I thought he'd done fantastic.
Robbie, did you do that? Robbie, did you do his torn hamstring in that Vienna's nightclub?
I must have done. I feel like celebrating after the game. Gogic has probably flung him to the floor. He was flinging everybody a bit. So,
Robbie, I was just gonna ask, where does you'll know better than me? Where does Bacchus stand in sort of the running for maybe getting in that Australia team for the World Cup again, or where did he stand? As I'm saying, that probably his chances are all but done now.
Yeah, it's taking a real dampener for him. And look, it was always going to be hard to get into the Australia squad, especially when you've got Cammy Devlin, who's the best midfielder in the league right now, in my opinion. He's come into a real game he's in. So it was always going to be difficult for Bacchus. You just feel now it's probably too late to get back and really make a run. But look, stranger things have happened. If he does come back and gets a run in the team, then you never know. But he need to put in one hell of a performance between probably February and the World Cup to get a spot. So it's really gutting that we've lost him. I thought he was really good against Celtic the weekend, and I'd probably get my man of the match in some scenarios. I think he was really an underrated player in the game. Everybody looked at Gogic and King and Dan Lundulu, but to me, Bacchus just controlled the midfield and done really, really well. So it's a big miss, but we do fortunately have the depth where I'm not too worried about somebody else stepping in. I do believe Marco Harris back to full fitness. Thankfully, he's finally going to be coming back in, and I am Michael, not to get too ahead of myself, but I'm so confident that we're going to win this game tomorrow.
No, no, I think St Mirren are favourites and rightfully so. I think they're over the sticky period they were on, and they got the win against Dundee United, obviously, to give them confidence going out of that final, and then nothing can give you more confidence than lifting a cup, and I think they'll carry that on. Possibly the pick of the bunch when it comes to fixtures. Livingston at home, I think we touched on that. I don't think Livingston is as poor as maybe bottom of the league suggests compared to the other teams, but I think they're going to struggle to not be in the bottom two, certainly come the end of the season. And I think the case for Livingston, that we're lucky that Dundee and Kilmarnock especially have struggled as well. St Mirren, I think this is the opportunity for them maybe to leave that bracket, because they're still, well, they're closer to that bracket than the other teams sort of above. And obviously St Mirren have got games in hand on every team in the league. They've played the least in the league, one less than Aberdeen, who are 10 points ahead of them in sixth. So I know Stephen Robertson likes a good run at the end of the season to get into the top six, but you don't want to believe in yourself too much to do. And these are fixtures that you need to win if you want to have any aspirations of being in the top six again. And I think St Mirren will be there or thereabouts. I have a lot of confidence in them to do that. But then again, you can't be dropping points at home to the weakest side in the league.
Ethan, there was a really good start last night that I read that St Mirren are the team that have scored the least goals this season in the Premiership so far, which, when you take into account the teams that are below us, you'd probably be surprised. But that's the reality of how the leagues went. We can talk about cup runs and how good that was. We need to start picking up points in the league at this point, and we've got such a good run of games today. 2 hand-picked fixtures, Michael. Livingston at home and Kilmarnock at home back-to-back. You could not ask for a better 2 games to come back after the League Cup win to play. The boys have got to take it with confidence. We've got to, and obviously if we won the 2 games 1-0, I wouldn't be complaining. But I want to see a few goals. I want to see the team brush these teams aside and prove that we're far away from these teams, because that's what I feel like we're missing. We're missing that brushing these teams aside and really making this season a rain and try to push up the top 6, because I believe we can get in there just as much as I believe we can get in there, the like to the Motherwells and Falkirks and stuff like that. We can compete with these teams, albeit Motherwell's a slightly different situation with how well they're doing, but I do think we can be up there competing. So we need to win tomorrow. But I want to just ask you guys about Livingston. It says it Monday, but Livingston tomorrow, I get 2 or 3-0. Where does that leave David Martindale? And I know we come on here every week and go, he's got a safest job in Scotland and this and that, but results in different places, say Kilmarnock win their game, where does that leave Martindale in terms of his job security? Surely at some point you've got to sack him.
Yeah, well, that was something that I think me and Michael touched on before we started the show, that Livingston are bottom, and they have been bottom since the start of the season. But is there going to be a question over David Martindale's job? I think if the teams above them were a little stretch ahead and there was a more maybe panic button pressing, that Livingston were outright favourites to be bottom, that they still probably are favourites to be bottom, but I mean as in they're falling adrift of the other teams, and I certainly think there will be pressure. But you always say it, he's done a great job to even get them back up to the Scottish Premiership. He's obviously been there for a while. You'd imagine he's turned down other jobs. The finances they have compared to the rest of the league, I know he always goes on about it, but it is a factor. But they have brought in a lot of players in the summer. They've got a big squad, and they've got some players that have come in and done really well. Jeremy Burkilas, who scored against Dundee, he's got 5 goals in the Premiership, which is pretty good and probably in the upper echelon compared to teams in the rest of the league, or players in the rest of the league. Sorry, this predicted lineup saying Ryan McGowan's going to start, but I think he'll be suspended after his red card. I don't know why it says that. One of the other interesting players, I think that's maybe went under the radar because he's not really, well, he's dropped out the team the last few games, and you would expect him to be one of Livingston's standouts, is Mo Salah. I thought that was an excellent signing, but it's obviously not really went to plan. That came off the bench against Motherwell, benched and didn't come off the bench against Dundee, and obviously that brilliant comeback for Livingston, which they looked down and out when Dundee went 2-0 up. So yeah, I think it's a real struggle for Livingston at the minute, but I think they're going to maybe be in the battle, and I think you know what, they went down with a whimper, you could say, the last time, and I think David Martindale want to make sure that it's not the same this time around. I think the Livingston fans were really unhappy with how they played in that season as well in the Premiership. It was a lot of hoofball, whereas this time around they are actually trying to play a bit of football here and there. Martindale stuck to his word. He said that that's what they were going to do. So, yeah, I think Livingston are a really interesting case. I think, as you said...
Sorry, I'm more silly. If you had asked me before the season begun, I would have said he was probably the most underrated signing in the league. I think he's an excellent player. And his one actually would have took it us. I know there was a few rumours, I think, a few clubs potentially looking to try and sign him. I would have loved him. I think he's a cracking player. And Livingston are going to utilise players like that throughout the season. You know, let's be honest, the league's that open that there is games you can look at Livingston and go, they can win that, they can pick up points there, they can pick up points there. Right enough, gone 2 goals down to Dundee at home probably doesn't help your case, but Livingston do need to start picking up points against these teams that realistically they can. You know, Dundee are the unbeatable. As much as Stephen Presley's done well when he's picking up points here and there, Livingston at home, if you want any chance of tying up, any team at home should be looking to beat Dundee. It doesn't matter who you are. I know, just being, you know, the other two in the panel have all taken bad results against Dundee this season. I'm aware of that, but you know, if you're hand-picking fixtures to play, you want home against Livingston, Kilmarnock or Dundee, respectfully to the 3 teams. That's the 3 you want to be picking up 3 points every time. So, Livingston have got to be no different, and they've got to be looking at the run of form and going, right, we need to actually start picking up points. I know what Alex says in there that Martindale's got a job for life, but does he? You know, if Livingston go down again, did the Livingston board, because I'm pretty sure they're still quite new to Scottish football, aren't they, the Livingston board? It wasn't long ago they got took over, so you've got to think that Livingston board are maybe looking at his job and going, right, if we get relegated again, let's go on to something fresh.
Yeah, they haven't won a game since the second league game of the season against Falkirk, which is at the start of August, 19 games ago. So they've almost went 20 games without a win, which is a terrible run for any team to be on. And they're lucky they picked up a few draws and they're only 3 points behind Dundee by a game in hand. And as you said, I think I can see what you mean when this is maybe a game that St Mirren could struggle in against a team that's not going to want to be sort of ball dominant and really press St Mirren like Celtic did to very unsuccessful measures. One question, maybe the last one on this game before anyone else wants to make any points. So we're going to ask you, Robbie, do you think Mikael Mandron comes back in, or do you think Dan Ilandulu and Jonah Young have done enough with their 2 great performances to warrant keeping their places?
It would be very, very harsh to change the team unless absolutely necessary. And I think there only will be 2 changes. Obviously, Bacchus is going to drop out due to injury, and I think Declan John's probably going to drop out for Scott Tans. I think John will still make the bench, but I think he'll maybe just save John as a precaution in case he's needed. But bar that, it would be so unfair for any other player to get dropped after somebody's performance. And look, this is the type of game I want to see a Young and Ilandulu together. I've been screaming for it for months, and as much as I do like Mika, and I think I've been one of the more critical St Mirren fans of him, and as much as I do love him, this has been a partnership I've been screaming out for ages. I always said, because you know, Robinson used to make the subway, they take a young guy off and bring them to the loan. They'd never really be in the park at the same time, but when I seen it on Sunday, I was so happy, and both of them linked up really well as well. So I want to keep seeing that duel right now.
Okay, so score prediction for tomorrow. I think I know what Robbie's got to say, so we won't ask him. No, okay. Ethan, what about you?
St Mirren aren't one of the strongest the weakest scorers in the league, as Robbie revealed. But they did get 3 goals against the league champions, and I think they'll get 3 goals again here. Although I think Livingston will get 1, but I'm going to go St Mirren 3, Livingston 1.
Reagan?
I'm going to go St Mirren 4. David Martindale to Livingston 0. I think there'll be a party in Paisley. There we go.
Some extreme predictions from you, Reagan. Oh yeah, we didn't get you wanted a prediction for the Hearts Rangers game?
Yep, I'm going to go Hearts 3, Rangers 0.
Wow. I will leave the last word to Robbie in this game.
It's Christmas, Michael. It's Christmas. You've got to be adventurous.
Yeah, you've got to be jolly, mate. Yeah.
Maybe I've had a few shandies. It's Friday. Enjoy yourself. No, I'm just
Yeah, and enjoy yourself. Throw yourself under the bus. No, don't do that, honestly. I will go 3-0 to St Mirren, Robbie, but I've been nice to you. It's a season to be nice, mate.
Thank you, I appreciate that. No, I know there's obviously an open top bus parade on Sunday for anybody that is interested in
Again?
going. Well, within the day a bus parade until we won it, so we're down one.
Right goes the celebration police.
I know.
Yes.
Sunday
Yeah,
half.
you only like one.
I mean,
That was that Sunday, Robbie, no?
No, we never done one last Sunday. The players were
No.
at the Abbey, the cup, but they never done a bus parade, so that'll be nice on Sunday. But Ryan put a comment in, and we recorded a podcast earlier in the week, and I'm sticking by it. A Younger double, Gogic double, Fraser Taylor, and Alan Dullo goal, 6-0 St Mirren, Livingston. That's going to be my official prediction.
Oof. Wow.
Oh,
Calm down, guys.
The humble pie I'm going to beat in on this show when Livingston beat us 1-0, Mo Salah bangs one top right.
I think somebody will be clipping that up for Livingston. What have you seen?
Barry, don't hold back, Robbie, now.
The Almond View podcast are buzzing with that, by the way. They cannot wait until Livingston beat us 1-0.
Let's move on before we get the police at Robbie's store. Let's move on to Motherwell against Dundee for Park. Motherwell in the good run of form, breaking 9 unbeaten and 5 clean sheets.
Yeah, they are. I'm looking forward to this match against Dundee. I mean, they're playing some great football, Motherwell. Then you've got Stephen Presley, who's dreaming about some great players to bring on as well. So should be a good match to be involved in.
I've never wanted the team to get ran out more than I did Dundee. Respectfully to Stephen Presley. See as soon as that dream quote dropped in the press conference, I've never wished a team get beat 5-0 more. And I hope Motherwell with the team because I think they are just you know what, see if you're looking for shockers this season, and obviously the top ones gonna be Hearts to win the league. But see if you're looking for one, Motherwell to finish in the top 4 somewhere.
Well, I was just going to say, do you think Motherwell have still got a chance of possibly the title because they've
no.
It would take. It would take a sensational collapse for Celtic and Rangers for Motherwell to get in there with the title.
It would take a sensational one, maybe, but it would be absolutely fascinating to watch.
Could you imagine Jens in his first season wins the league with Motherwell? I think he's the next Sir Alex if he done that. But I didn't know. I think Motherwell have got a chance anywhere between. I want to go out in a limb and say third. I really do fancy this Motherwell team. They could push for third, depending on how it goes at both clubs. You know, if Rangers start turning it around fully and start winning every week, and Celtic I find a way to start winning, then possibly not. But I definitely think fourth is a good possibility for Motherwell, and you've got to say they deserve it. They do play some really nice stuff. I think,
Robbie, are you going to be sticking a wee bit of money on that?
Aye, 5-0 Motherwell. No, I will probably have Motherwell to win, to be fair. I'll probably have them in the top 4 as well, but I do think this is the games where I think you're going to see Jens' tactics shine against a team that are probably going to go to Fir Park and sit behind the ball and try and let Motherwell break them down. And with that style, they're just so fascinating to watch. There's some games where they don't score a lot of goals, and I know there has been a few 0-0 draws in recent weeks. And look, that's the counteract for playing that style of football. I did say it on the show, when we first sort of seen it, that there will be times where they blow teams at the water, like they did against Livingston 3-0, but there will be times where they probably drop points here and there, because that's just the way that style works. And I personally don't think they'll drop any points for Dundee. And then they've got a big away game against Rangers next week. So, the Jens has got to be confident, going to Ibrox as well. And I think he'll want to build a real run of momentum. I know they play Celtic after they play Rangers as well, so it's a big run again. Aye, and look,
to be honest with you, Robbie, I think people in Scottish football would probably stick their money on Motherwell right now.
I wouldn't see why not. And I think that just shows how good the ends has done. I mean, there was a point where we were coming on the show after Michael Rimmer left so abruptly, and we sort of said, right, how are Motherwell going to come back for this? Of course, this old Lennon Miller, which we all thought at the time was going to be a huge hit to them, but they've recruited well, get some really, really, really good players, and Elijah Just is just fantastic to watch. And they look like a really, really solid team. So they're probably the dark horses this season. They do really well in the league and potentially run at a cup as well.
Yeah, exactly that. I would agree with almost everything you guys said. I think Motherwell will come into this as big favourites. Michael touched on the run they've been on in the league, and that towards the start of the run that's a very surprise. That's very disrespectful. Not very surprised. The defeat to St Mirren in the League Cup, maybe the scoreline very surprising based off the run Motherwell had been on, and then around that time. But Motherwell have went 7.5 hours without conceding a goal, which is ridiculous. And I think that's something we put on them at the start of the season, was that yes, they play this flashy style and stuff like that, but they're going to give up a lot of chances. Doesn't seem like they're giving up a lot of chances at the minute, because no team scored against them.
Some of the teams they've played in that run as well, Hearts, Hibs and Falkirk in that run, and they've not conceded a goal. I mean, that is, now you bring it up, that is absolutely outstanding. And it's really weird, because I probably would have looked at that Motherwell team and said, right, the one position going into January they're probably looking to strengthen is in the defence, but clearly no, because it's clearly working. So, full credit to Jens, because I think he's got it spot on. I think you might be looking at another 90 minutes where they don't concede a goal, to be honest, at the weekend.
I agree with you.
And don't forget, guys, they were nearly moments away from getting a point at Celtic Park that early on in the season.
Yeah, and they probably should have beat Rangers at Fir Park based on the balance of that game. I know Rangers got a point, and I know it took Motherwell to get a late goal, but based on the balance of play, I think Motherwell were the better team. And that's the thing with them. They started the season, despite they were playing so well, was it 6 draws they started the season with? And they've got the most draws in the Premiership at 9. So I think if they could just turn a few more of those games into wins, then they could be in a really good place, really challenging the 3 teams above them. Because I know that the 3 draws come against good teams, 2 teams that were in the top 6. I think at the time, Hearts obviously certainly in the top 6. Falkirk, I think, were there at the time. Dundee United just sort of outside that in 8th. Dundee coming off the back of what was a really disappointing second half against Livingston, because they started the game so well, and then they dropped those 2 goals and ultimately dropped 2 points, which could be 2 precious points come the end of the season, that relegation battle you'd imagine between Dundee and Livingston at the bottom. I don't think they'll be coming in the game with too much to shout about. I think Motherwell will be really confident. I think they'll win pretty easily. I'll give my prediction now. I'm going to go with, not as extreme as some of the other ones on the show today, but I'll go with a 2-0 win for Motherwell, another clean sheet, another win to keep them ticking along and getting closer to Celtic. Maybe could go 2 points behind them, could even overtake Rangers again if Hearts can win at Tynecastle.
Robbie, what about you?
4-0 Motherwell, and I think the thing is that's, as much as that's a big scoreline, it's not with the realms of possibility with the way Motherwell like to play. If they don't form, they will put in as many goals as they want. And I think, at what point does maybe Stephen Presley start coming under a bit of pressure? Because I know he's picking up wins here and there, but the consistency for Dundee's all over the place right now.
Reagan?
Yeah, that's the thing. I was just going to say, that's the thing. Sorry, Michael and Reagan. That's the thing I fear with Motherwell, is that Dundee will pull out one of these performances. Stephen Presley will have one of these dreams, and then they'll work their magic and get a win or something like that. But I don't think Saturday or tomorrow even will be the occasion for that.
Their only wins come at home, so I'm not convinced they're going to go away from home and they will like that. But
they almost got a win last week until Stephen Presley shut up shop after being 2-0 up.
They did, but again, you'd argue probably Livingston are the weakest team in the league. I think it's definitely up for debate that they're one of the weakest. So I definitely think going to Fir Park's different to going to Livingston Stadium. But no, you're right, Regan. I mean, it could happen. Dundee could put up and put in a good performance and get something, but I just can't see it.
I'm going to go with Robbie in this one only because I want to see a open top bus in Paisley. I think that would be pretty funny actually. 4-0 to Motherwell. So there you go. Okay, let's move on to Dundee United again.
Michael, you've missed my prediction. I mean, my prediction is spot on this season. I'm going
I'm okay. Sorry, on you go, Reagan.
So I've went with Aberdeen to beat Celtic 2-0. I've went for St Mirren to win 4-0. I went for 3-0 to Hearts against Rangers, and now I'm going for 5-0 to Motherwell.
What's going on with the clean sheets? Is just everybody getting a clean sheet this weekend?
All round.
So Stephen to be Jordan and all that. Yeah, but there you go. By the way, if you and Robbie get your predictions wrong, then we're doing a show on Sunday to apologise because we both watching. Get a show anyway to apologise. I don't care. Dundee United against Hibs. Dundee United came off a brilliant performance even on Wednesday night, second half anyway, against Celtic. They've kind of been up and down this season, you would say, under Jim Goodwin, but I think they should be all right in tomorrow. In fact, this could be one of the games of the weekend, guys, because Hibs has been kind of out of form as well, but they've been kind of up and down as well.
Yeah, that's it. Dundee United, the first win in 8, I think it was, against Celtic, 7 without before that, back to when they beat Robbie St Mirren at the end of October. So, yeah, that's a big weight lifted off the Jim Goodwin and the players' shoulders now, and they can maybe have aspirations of being in the top 6 again. It's going to be difficult because Aberdeen have made a real run. Motherwell have been brilliant, as we touched on. Their opponents at the weekend, Hibs, are obviously a team you would expect to be in and around the European spots with the squad they have and the money they spent in the summer. And then you've obviously got St Mirren, who we all expect to make a run at it, as they always do. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a difficult game for Dundee United, but at home, in front of the Tannadice crowd, which will be a lot more confident coming off the back of the win against Celtic, that we can have expectations to maybe take something off of Hibs, who, as we said, have been pretty inconsistent. One game they're really good, like they were against Falkirk, and then maybe against Rangers they didn't do much, and that's been the problem with Hibs all season. That they've not really turned up for the big games on the most part. And I think along with, Aberdeen haven't played Rangers yet this season, I don't believe, along with Kilmarnock and Livingston, who are in that bottom 3. Hibs are the only team not to pick up a point against Rangers this season, which shows that David Gray's not really getting the best out of his team in those sort of big matches.
I watched that match on Monday night, even I don't know if you watched it yourself, but they had a big chance. I mean, they had a big chance in the first half, but they get cleared off the line. But I mean, they probably should have scored that goal. But apart from that, they've been terrible. And don't forget, David Gray was the manager that kept Russell Martin in a job when he got his first win against Hibs as well. So
yeah, that's that. They've played 3 times this season, and Rangers have won all of them by. I think they won by a couple of goals in that cup game you referred to, and then won by the odd goal in the 2 recent games, both against Danny Rowe. So, yeah, they're way behind their Edinburgh rivals. Of course, Hearts have played excellently this season, but ultimately that's the benchmark for the Hibs fans. They want to be competing for being better than their rivals, and after last season having an excellent season and almost all the bragging rights in Scottish football, all the bragging rights in Edinburgh, it'll be difficult for Hearts to catch up this season. 14 points behind, and what chance do you think Hibs have of finishing above Hearts?
No,
I mean, you have to give a percentage.
Do you want me to fling up a hot take just based on what you said there?
Yeah.
There's every chance Hibs don't finish in the top 6 this season. There's no that Hibs don't. They do not have the mentality to cope with some of these teams. David Gray's done a good job, and I don't think he should be nearly sacked by him. I think that's very harsh for Hibs fans that want him out, because you look at what he took over and what he sort of built, and you know, some of the managerial casualties Hibs have had before is just bizarre sometimes. So you look at some of the casualties they've had. David Gray's built a really solid foundation based with players that know how to play under him, they want to play under him. They've got some really good attacking players, really good defensive players. They just struggle to beat some of the so-called bigger teams in the league, and if they lose the Edinburgh Derby, there will be pressure on Gray. There just will. That's the nature of it. You know, as much as I don't think he should get sacked, there will be pressure, especially at home. So there's a big couple of games coming up for David Gray.
Yeah, exactly that. And maybe what David Gray's doing is he's having a better start to this season, and then they're going to go on that ridiculous unbeaten run in the second half of the campaign again, and maybe challenge Hearts. I asked the question. It's a stupid question. I asked Alex it the other day. But yeah, I think Hibs will still be aiming for fourth. I think that's a realistic target for them. It's a realistic target at the start of the season. And yeah, I can see them. I can see them getting fourth, but as you said, Robbie, there's no guarantees that they're in the top six. But the teams all stepping up. Aberdeen's recent run, Falkirk have always been strong throughout the season, as we keep saying. But St Mirren, Dundee United have a real chance to stake their claim this weekend if they can build on that win against Celtic and win again, especially at home. So this one could go either way. A really tough one to call, I'd say.
Aye. Just on Dundee United, that is such a big win, and you sort of felt even if Jim Goodwin never got that win against Celtic, he would have been under a bit of pressure. I think it's fair to say. I don't know if you agree, but to me, what Goodwin's built, the backing of the board, and you know they did back him. He signed a good few players at the start of the season, and you know, it really sort of bolstered that squad. After losing a few key players, right enough, you know, Sam Dalbygod's a big miss, but they've replaced them well. Sax Apsford looks like a good signing. So I just felt that win probably just gave Goodwin a bit more time. It felt like it was really, really needed.
Yeah, I think it probably was. I don't think there would have been certainly pressure on them, and I know a lot of Dundee United fans were lacking belief in the set of players and the structure they obviously went for in the transfer window, having a complete turnover, the loan deals, the loads of players brought in from loads of different countries. But they're there or thereabouts. You look at it, they're only 4 points off of top six, which I think Dundee United fans would have been happy if you had told them almost halfway into the season. They're still there. They've still got a lot to compete for this season, and that's what it's about. And I think all the teams around there, and St Mirren, I think Dundee, Kilmarnock and Livingston will maybe be the castaways. I think Kilmarnock, if they get their managerial appointment right, whether that be Russell Martin or someone else, they can maybe drive away from Dundee and Livingston. But yeah, the league's thrown up so many shocks this season, and if I had to give my prediction for this game, I'm going to sit on the fence for the first time today. No extreme results for me. I'm going to go with a 2-each draw between Dundee United and Hibernian. So not an ideal score for either team, but not the worst.
Yep. Okay. So I don't know about you guys, but I will be going for 3-2 win to Dundee United tomorrow. That's a bit wacky.
Everybody's getting some wacky predictions today. I'm also going to back my pal Jim. I'm going to go 2-1 to Dundee United.
2-1 to Dundee. Reagan?
I'm going to go... I'll go 4-2 to Dundee United.
Oof. That's
It's going to be the best sports scene ever, Reagan.
6-goal thriller.
Well, maybe no, if it's just for the most part one team battering the other, but at least you gave goals to both sides this time.
The players will be enjoying themselves.
Aye, festive spirit.
Robbie, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I already said 2-1. What I said, 2-1.
Yeah.
2-1
Okay.
United.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on to the last game of the Premiership weekend, and it is By the way, I'm happy to see Chris Doolan back, even though it's in temporary charge, because I think he was doing a brilliant job against with Packet Thistle. I'm surprised he's only getting a kind of job temporarily now. But they're up against Falkirk tomorrow, Reagan.
Yep, definitely, Michael. I think it's going to be a great match to watch. I'm predicting a lot of action packed in this game as well. I know Chris very well. I've interviewed him before, Michael. Also, I know Paul DiGiacomo, who's on the backroom team as well. So I'm predicting a big win for Chris Doolan's first match is in charge.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Mike. I was just going to say, I think it's a big win. No, I was just going to say, it's a win that Kilmarnock you feel need. You know, things weren't going well under Kettlewell. It felt it was getting a bit toxic at Rugby Park. Obviously, they've moved on, and I think that squad's good enough to stay up. I think it's a good mid-table squad, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Although they've not really shown it, I think there's players in there. Bruce Anderson, I look at him. He's a player I would have snapped the game after have at St Mirren, you know, if the opportunity came about. So they've definitely got players in there that can cause threats. It just wasn't really working. And you do feel this is a big match for both teams. You know, I'm saying it's a big match for Kilmarnock, but Falkirk took 2 losses to both Edinburgh teams. Just didn't score a goal. No scored in 4, I believe. No 1 in 4 either. So you feel for John McGlynn. He probably needs to start getting some points back on the board to get a few results. And look, on the Falkirk side, there's probably no better time to do it than going away to Kilmarnock when the squad will be feeling low, and I'm sure Doolan will be trying his hardest to get the players up for it and get them back, the mentality back on the positive side. But, you know, Falkirk are a hard team at the best times to play against, so I don't expect it to be an easy game for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, and Chris Doolan will be trying to get trying to get the players confident and belief in themselves that they can go and win matches again. They've not kept a clean sheet in 10 matches, Kilmarnock, which says probably the root of their problem this season. Although, as Robbie, I think, just touched on, Falkirk haven't scored any in their last 4. So something has to give in this game. What that'll be, I'm not too sure. What I would say is Kilmarnock started the game well against Aberdeen. They got, obviously, the goal through John Jules. Really nice finish, I will say. And they had other chances before Aberdeen got the 2 late goals. So I don't think Kilmarnock are the worst team in the world, and I say that for even Livingston, who are bottom. I think every team in this league can compete on their day, and but Falkirk will, obviously, they want to get back into the winning groove and say that they're going to be competing for the top 6, because obviously they've dropped out now to Aberdeen, and they need to pick up points because Aberdeen are on form. Hibs are going to pick up points throughout the season. I think we understand that they're quite inconsistent, but they're able to pick up points. So yeah, Falkirk will need to get back on the winning routine. And could that happen this weekend? Possibly. But I think I might have to sit on the fence again for this one, because I could see it going either way.
I think, sorry, Michael, I was just going to say one player for Kilmarnock that I'm particularly interested in, Scott Tiffany. It's a player I thought would have added a lot more, to be honest, by now than what we have seen. And obviously, when your team's losing a lot of games and not able to win, it's hard to sort of make that impact. But I like to see Scott get another chance. I think Scott's a brilliant player. Of course, he had that really good season. I think it was 2022 with Thistle, where he scored, I think, 13, 14 goals in the league season. Looked really, really sharp, really, really good. He's a player that when Kilmarnock second, I was like, that's a really good pickup for them. So I like to see them try and utilise these players a bit more. Obviously, Greg Kilty's sitting on the bench now as well. Even you mentioned, he gave a game to John Jules. He stepped up, scored. So I'll be interested to see what Doolan's lineup is. I think that's what everybody's looking forward to, seeing what he's maybe going to go with, seeing if he's going to change the shape, change the way they play. And the day desperately need to get a win.
Aye, Robbie, I think you're spot on there. I think the only place we should go now is to get the predictions, because we've got a few massive predictions. I was laughing there thinking about what my prediction is going to be, but I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to the home team. I'm going to go for Chris Doolan and Paul DiGiacomo to get off to the perfect start at Rugby Park.
I'd love to know what the odds are on every prediction Reagan said on the show today. That must be some high numbers. That is some predictions. I love it. If I'll go next, I'll go. Yeah, Ethan, I know you mentioned that. I think I'm going to sit in the fence as well. I think I'm going to go one each.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going for a one each with this one. Another draw for me.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting game of the weekend. Right enough, Robbie. We said that about Livingston and Dundee last weekend. It was 2-8. Yeah, I will go for 0-0 in this one.
Mike, I've just told the fans going along there tomorrow are going to get 3 goals for the home team, and you're saying 0-0. You're meant to advertise the game, promote the game.
Okay, 5 each then. And then Falkirk will get a Jewish penalty in the last minute from VAR. I'll come off somebody's fingernail and they'll win the game. But no for me, Reagan. So there you go. That is the games of the weekend then in the top flight, and a game on Sunday as well. Let's have a look at the league table as it stands at the moment. There we go. So Celtic still on top at the moment. Could get all chains, or could Nancy get his first win as Celtic manager on Sunday? And Livingston's rooted to the bottom of the table, and Robbie's hoping that they will still be bottom of the table on Saturday night.
Sorry to correct you there, Michael, but you said Celtic are top at the moment.
No. Yeah, I never saw it. And yeah, forgive me if I got a few studies this afternoon.
Michael's been dreaming like Stephen Presley.
I think this is my bold prediction. I don't think any of the places in the league table will change over the weekend. I think we'll have the exact same position going into the next game week.
I thought you were going to say for the rest of the season. I was going to say there's no point in it for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
No. I think there's a lot to change there, but no, I don't think any positions will change over the weekend.
So there you go. Let's have a look at the championship. If you're going to the Hill for Thrills tomorrow, you will get buy one get one free, because Reagan and Robbie's going to that one. So but let's move into the championship, guys. No games tonight. Airdrie against Queen's Park. Dunfermline against Ayr. It's ex-Celtic captain Derby in Kingdom of Five. Let's hope Neil Lennon's feeling better, and big respect going out to his family, because Reagan told us last week that his mum and dad passed away in the past couple of weeks. So condolences to the family there. Packet Thistle against Raith Rovers. Ross Kent against Arbroath. And finally, we've got St Johnson against Morton tomorrow. So I don't know why I asked for your pick of the week, because I know what Robin Reagan's going to say. So, Ethan, how about you?
My pick of the week. You know what? I'm going to go with that.
Sorry.
Pick of the weekend. Yeah, no, I got what you mean. Just to say, my prediction about the SPFL table, the Premiership table staying the same, is completely wrong. I don't believe in that anymore. Anyway, the Championship pick of the week, it'll be currently managerless, permanent managerless Ross County hosting third place Arbroath. It'll be interesting to see if the Ross County players get a lift and can get a win against Arbroath, but I fancy the away side, obviously, but that'd have to be my pick of the bunch, and I'll go away from the Jags, like the other two I imagine I'll go for.
If I can fling another game into the mix, I'll also give a mention to Dunfermline versus Ayr. It's such a big game, you feel, for both clubs. Scott Brown must have been kicking himself after the St Johnstone game because they were in such a strong position to take away 3 points and they completely threw it away. But Regan, I'm sure like me, you're probably buzzing to go and watch Partick Thistle v Ref. I mean, Ref scored 11 goals in the last 2 games, only conceded 2. I mean, if Dougie Emery's going to get a point, or 3 points at Partick Thistle, you've got to imagine it's going to be them all. They're flying right now.
Aye, they're playing really well, Robbie, and they're playing as if they could possibly get in those places as well.
Aye, I think so. Michael, I will just say, I cannot wait to get to a game without VAR. I could not tell you the last time I went to a football match and it didn't have VAR at it, and I'm buzzing to go to this one. It's just going to feel so much more refreshing.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Right, I don't know about you guys, but I would like to see that confirming in air on the TV tonight. I think there's something special about that game.
Aye, can I suggest we give our predictions for all the championship games quickly? Is that?
Yep. So I think I know what you're going to say for the Partick Thistle game. I think you're going to say they're going to get these 5.
I think you'll actually be surprised, Mike. I've got a wee prediction for you.
Oh, there you go.
I should just say I'm not affiliated with these clubs. I'm going purely as a media.
I'm not affiliated either. I'm not.
So you say, Regan, so you say.
Yeah.
Just want to know.
Okay, cool. That's good. Robbie.
Right, Airdrie versus Queen's Park. I'll go 2-1 Airdrie.
Yeah, I think I'll go 3-1 to Airdrie.
I'll go 2-1 Airdrie as well.
3-1 Airdrie for me. The next game is confirming against Ayr, Robbie.
Something tells me Scott Brown is going to take another hit, and I think the Pals might win this one 2-0.
I'm going to go Dunfermline 3, Ayr 2.
Oh,
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Dunfermline 1, Ayr United 3.
Oh, there you go. Talking about goal prediction from Regan. Ethan's gets match got even better there. I 3-1 to the Pals.
All right, I like it.
What's the that's Partick Thistle and Rafe Rovers. Ethan.
Partick Thistle 2, Rafe Rovers 2. I think it'll be more drop points for Thistle. And I think it'll improve St Johnstone's bid for the championship. I'm maybe giving away my prediction for that game a little bit, but
yeah. I will go 2-1 to the Harry Rags. There you go. Robbie.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a shocker. As I mentioned, 11 goals in 2 games by Ref. I don't see them slowing down. I'm going to go a goal fest. 4-2 to Ref Rovers.
Robbie, you just stole my prediction there.
No.
By the way, you still haven't getting back to Fair Hill if that happens, because they're not going to give you press access to the game, but never mind. Regan? Well, obviously 4-2.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4-2 as well.
Oh, there you go. Ross County Arbroath. I'm sorry, it's going to be a bit of a bore fest, this one. I will go.
It's my game of the week.
Is it? Yeah.
Bore fest of the week, Michael. That's what it is.
Yeah, bore fest. Okay, I will go 1 each in this one.
Right, I'll go 1-0 Arbroath and Ryan Flynn scores the goal.
I'm going to go the home side 0, Arbroath 3.
Oh,
I'm going to go a wee bit of bold prediction. I'm going to go Ross County 1, Arbroath 0.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And the last game is St Johnstone and Morton. I think this is feels like a good game as well. But I think it will be 3-1 to the Saints on a Saturday. There you go.
10-0 to Johnson. No, I'll go. I'm going to go 4-1 to St Johnstone.
2-0 St Johnstone for me.
I'm going to go St Johnstone 1, Morton 1.
Ooh,
Wow. Yeah. There you go. And that's the league
Oh,
that
table.
helps out Thistle.
My basis on that, Michael, just to bring Scottish Championship supporters up to date on that. Morton are Billy Davis will stay on for the rest of the season.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's I'm going to show my age now, but I don't think any of you guys were about when Billy Davis was in charge of Motherwell. But good manager and good to see him back in Scottish football.
I hope
Yeah.
it gets beat. Hope it gets beat the weekend. But and Barry, just before I forget, while we're on the topic of covering news, just want to send my condolences to Hamilton, the Hamilton fans. Another deduction on the board there. Terrible scenes. I mean, you know, as much as I'll never forgive them for Stokemas getting top 6, you know, for the fans, you never want to see that happening to any club. And the downfall of Hamilton's when they were in the Premiership has been outstanding, and it only seems to be getting worse. So I just get condolences out of their support.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a really difficult situation, and it's a shame to see where Hamilton have failed to over the last couple of seasons. Obviously, quite recently in the Premiership. So yeah, disappointing, and it's going to be difficult for them now, and especially their fans, as you said, Robbie.
There you go. That's the football up to date, and that's us, guys. We're off for a few days, and we'll be back on Sunday, the 28th of December. No rest for the wicked then, because there's football all the way through Christmas. We've got a small matter of the Edinburgh Derby and small matter of the Old Firm game coming up.
What I would say to the supporters of the Scottish Football Zone is, if there's any emergencies like Nancy gets sacked or something happens at Rangers or Hearts or whatever, we'll definitely be on. So stay tuned to.
So we will be on before the 28th.
And that's no, by the way, Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
Yeah.
Yep. Merry Christmas and
only
stuff.
Only 6 more sleeps.
Yeah, cool, Nancy.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, and so please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If there's any breaking news in between times, we'll be back on, as we did with Peter Rowell the other night before the Celtic Dundee United game. Thanks to Reagan, thanks to Ethan, and thanks to Robbie for keeping me company for the past couple of hours. Thanks to you for watching. And subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Scottish Football Zone, and follow us on TikTok as well. And also we are on Spotify as well. We're all over the place. So if not, we'll see you on the 28th of December at 3 o'clock.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.